What's going on, fight fans? This is Capital Combat. I'm Rob Jarrell. And since we just had the Andre Ward Alexander Brand fight where Andre Ward pretty much whitewashed Alexander Brand over 12 rounds, it's time to go on the road to Kovalev versus Ward. Now, we'll do an official breakdown on Monday of the Ward Brand fight, go into a little bit more detail of what we saw, what we expect going forward. But I'm here to talk to you today about what this means. Everything has been set. So we're getting Andre Son of God War versus Sergey Krusher Kovalev. And as boxing fans, this is what we live for. Let me tell you, the magnitude of this fight itself is probably the best, most significant matchup that's happened in 2016. This is a complete rarity. The winner of this fight is going to be considered, especially going into 2017, the number one pound for pound fighter in all of boxing. Trust me on this one. And I know everyone's got their opinion. Some people might say it's Canelo, or some people might say it's Chocolatito, which I love Chocolatito. But some people might say it's Golovkin. I really like Golovkin too. I think he does amazing stuff in the ring. Same with Chocolatito. But you're looking at a guy, Andre Ward, that's 30-0, has not lost since he was 12, and Sergey Kovalev, who has been demolishing people over the last several years, to become 30-0-1. The winner of this fight is going to be an instant Hall of Famer. Just write their ticket. I'm serious. If Kovalev wins, he's going to the Hall of Fame. If Andre Ward wins, he's going to the Hall of Fame. Not only that, but they will be a pay-per-view star. This fight on November 19th is going to be on pay-per-view, and I suggest that everyone buy it. But it's going to be on pay-per-view. It is the most significant fight. These are two pound-for-pound fighters that have proven themselves over the last several years to get to the spot that they are at now. Again, if you look, I think Andre Ward to begin his career or his peak, as far as opponent-wise, was much earlier than Kovalev's, but Kovalev has shown to take on the tougher opponents, in my opinion, as of the last few years. While Andre Ward was having promotional issues, he wasn't really fighting as much. Remember, he had that long layoff, then he fought Paul Smith, then another layoff, he fought Rodriguez, and this is the most active that we've seen him, where he got a good quality win versus Sullivan Barrera, and this win over Alexander Brand, not as quality, but Brand isn't a slouch. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Granted, this was to me a high-level sparring match because you can't get this that kind of experience in sparring, no matter how much you think you can. But let's just look at the resumes. We know Brand last night, Sullivan Barrera in March. He beat an unheralded Paul Smith, but keep in mind, Brand only lost one fight. Sullivan Barrera was undefeated. Paul Smith, meh. Edwin Rodriguez was undefeated. Y'all forgot that, didn't you? Chad Dawson was the king at 175, moved down to 168 on his own volition. He only lost one fight. Then Carl Froch only lost one fight. Arthur Abraham was the favorite going into the Super Six, and he was the champ. Tough Sakio Bika. Alan Green not so much, but at that time Alan Green only lost one fight. Then Mikhail Kessler only lost one fight, and he was one of the favorites going in to win the Super Six as well. And that was really what started Andre Ward on his ascent to the top of the pound for pound list. Of course, at that time after Floyd Mayweather Jr. And we're looking at Sergey Kovalev, who again, 30-0, knockout artist. If we date back to when he started getting really significant wins, was probably, I would say, was once he got past Darnell Boone. I do remember that fight. Darnell Boone did give him a rough outing the first time that they fought. He won that fight, but it was a split decision. He came back and beat Boone. kind of like how Donna Stevenson got knocked out, came back and beat and knocked out Boone, and of course Andre Ward got knocked down by Boone, but he went on to win by decision. So if you look at his, we got a game Gabriel Campillo, veteran, and at that time back in 2013, I think he had more legs under him. He beat Cornelius White, only one loss. Nathan Cleverly, who was undefeated, and he was just kind of going toe to toe with people. And just to take a look at Cleverly for a moment, because I didn't think he was going to win that fight with Kovalev. I'm going to be honest. He had a decent record. He was beating people, but some told me in that fight with Kovalev, he was up against it. You had a one-loss Ismail Salak. He came off that fight versus, and if I'm not mistaken, because he had experienced a knockout loss to Denis Grashev. I can never remember his name, but he had built himself back up, was going against Sergey Kovalev. Did him the same way he did Cleverly. And then you see him, Cedric Agnew was undefeated, but again, unheralded. I think he had moved up. Yeah, he had moved up, but he gave him a tough fight for as long as that lasted. Blake Caparello, undefeated, but really hadn't fought anyone. He's starting to fight more people now. But then we really saw what he had when he beat Bernardo Hopkins, and he beat him handily over 12 rounds. A guy who was never really knocked down, and he's only been beaten by the best of the best, and that's pretty much what it is. And then he beat John Pascal, who was always in the picture. He was champ. Then Muhammadi. Then, of course, Isaac Chilemba, which gave him some work going into the Ward fight. So at this point, both have been fought twice this year already, which is very good activity for the both of them. Remember, Andre Ward hadn't been fighting that often, and Kovalev had been fighting at least 3 times a year, except for 2015. Shoot, this fought 4 times in 2013, 3 times in 2014, twice in 2015, and twice in 2016. So just in looking at this is going to be a most significant matchup. Now, exciting remains to be here because we know the defensive skills. Andre Ward is a much more defensive fighter. He's, to me, more athletic, faster hands, but we know Krusher Kovalev can set up his punches much harder, much heavier hands. And don't get it twisted. Andre Ward has what I call solid punches. Trust me, when he hits you, you feel it, because people always think twice after getting hit by him. So, and just looking at all of that, it's just very significant. And you have to look at everything with these two guys. Neither one has said a bad thing about the other guy. Both of them said they're ready. Both of them said he looked good. Both of them said they had to do what they had to do to get to this point. No disrespect. No trash talk. Kovalev respects Andre Ward tremendously. Look at his post-fight video interviews. People try to bait him in, try to say how, say what Ward looked like. Ward's like, Kovalev was like, he came and did what he had to do. Alexander Brand's a tough guy. Maybe you don't realize it, but that's a wild, swinging Colombian who throws some awkward angles and who's never been knocked out, let alone knocked down in any fight, and who has had over 400 amateur fights. I don't care if he was in Colombia, Venezuela, Europe. That is a lot of fights for anyone. We know Lomachenko, Golovkin, the Cubans, and Laura and Rigondeaux, they had a lot of amateur fights, and so did this guy. So this guy is beyond just a veteran. So he came and did what he had to do. What Ward said, he's like, I respect him. I can't wait to get in there. Both of us did exactly what we had to do. We built our reputation up. He said that Kovalev definitely built his up. The respect is there. So let's respect with these two fighters. We don't have to badmouth each fighter. If they do things well, they do things we might prefer or not prefer. So if these guys show the utmost respect to each other, we should show the respect for them, regardless of who you're going to root for, and root for who you want to root for. Just buy the match. because I'm looking forward to it. I know y'all are looking forward to it. Another thing, no excuses. Whoever loses, if it's Ward, no excuses. If it's Kovalev, no excuses. Guess what? Whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, loses. Just enjoy the fight for what it's going to be. So, at this point, let's look forward to what's coming up. I hope HBO puts in the money and builds a hellacious undercard, because if this is going to be on pay-per-view, you got to stack it with significant fights, and not just significant fights, but good fights. Throw on one all-action fight, throw on another championship bout, and let's go at it. And just comparing, they have similar resumes. I want to say Ward's is a slightly higher, just because of the Super 6. It hasn't had the best lately. I don't care what you say. Edwin Rodriguez, again, he was undefeated. We're talking about a fight who was pound for pound and became champ right before he retired. Dawson was the man. Dawson, Bad Chad ain't what Bad Chad used to be, but he was at the time still Bad Chad before he got knocked out by Adonis Stevenson. Sullivan Barrera, he's going to be a champ at some point soon. Watch out for that. You got not Alexander Brand, but of course Abraham, Kessler, Green. So I think the peak of the actual fighters is much better than Kovalev, but Kovalev has remained fighting at a very high, not just pace, but quality opponents, and he's been doing it destructively, except for the Chilemba fight and the B-Hop fight. But he dominated B-Hop over 12 rounds. He pretty much, I would say, taken no less than 9 rounds from over Chilemba. But Chilemba, very crafty in there, was not only fighting to survive, no matter what anyone says. He wasn't just fighting to survive. If you watch that fight, he was actually fighting back, not just backing up. So what does this mean for the rest of the landscape? I just hope we can make these fights come up more often. I know we have one of the Charlos versus Julian Williams, another Charlo versus Charles Hatley. I'm looking forward to that. We just have Crawford versus Postal. We were looking at Verdejo versus Tommy Flanagan, but Felix Verdejo got hurt, unfortunately, in a motorcycle accident. We're remaining to hear that. If you have any questions, comments, put it in the section below. You can email us at capitalcombat@gmail.com, on Facebook at Capital Combat, Google Plus, Capital Combat, on Instagram, Capital of Combat. If you keep it respectful, we don't mind discussing anything. We don't even mind if you disagree with us. We just like open, honest, objective, and respectful conversation. And we'll debate you, because you might bring up a point that we've never seen, and vice versa. That's the beauty of it. So until next time, guys, peace.